Hello everyone, once again, and welcome back to Snowbound Blood. We are finally at Volume 8. I say finally, I don't mean finally as in, oh god, we're finally going to be rid of this game. Well, because there's, more volumes planned, but finally as in we've journeyed this far as our hero, in parentheses and question mark, Cecily. I'm still feeling sad from Volume 7 Part 2. Okay, so apparently this guy, this person, has a maze in their route where wrong turns will result in spoopy dialogue. But there's also a 5% chance that you'll get a horrific sudden jump scare and the game will crash. And I know that I like to deliver the most immersive, thorough experience to you. However, I am extremely anxious. Even someone tapping me on the shoulder and saying boo would probably make me nearly have a heart attack. So I kind of don't want to be scared by it. I guess that means we'll miss out on the spoopy dialogue. But I am very sorry. I know most gamers would say, I don't care, I want to deliver for my watchers and my viewers, and just go ahead anyway, and when they get scared, they're like, haha, I did this for my gamers. But, you kind of have to, set a boundary for yourself to stop at, and you kind of have to think about what's healthy for you. And I don't like making myself more anxious than I need to be. I'm unmedicated, so I am especially anxious at all times, so I guess we're just not doing the spoopy jump scares. However, Badger has very kindly taken all the wrong turns for me in the maze and put the video up on Google Drive, so I don't know, I'll watch it after. Well, on the good news and bad ends of the spectrum, you've recently gained an ally in one Necron Exmort. On the bad news end, you've squandered any hope of goodwill with someone else. Most importantly, though, you've subjected yourself to a very personal conversation with Mr. E. You talked things out with Sestro. And you may have navigated the emotional subject matter like a blind swamp beast, but you did it all the same. It would be a stretch to say that things are perfect, but progress is progress. For the first time in a long time, you've let yourself feel hurt rather than angry. That's all you need to recall right now. You know it's irrational, but part of you still needs a little distance from him. You've never been one who deals easily with disappointment or heartbreak, and this matter is no exception. You still care about him though, and you don't feel as strongly opposed to working for him again, not like you did a few days ago. In fact, you'd say that making up with him is critical, especially in a case like this. Sestro is not corporate. You'll listen to him, even as you feel an irreparable rift forming between yourself and your employer company. Hamifi had just as much say in the matter as he did too. She gives you all sorts of hell, but against your better judgment, there's a very real level of trust you have in her. Things are still hard, but they're getting better, slowly. In the meantime, you'll cope the only way you know how, by fixating on the case in front of you. It's time to get to work. All cops are bastards. Cecily is no exception. What she needs to do is quit being a cop, become a what's it called? A vigilante with Necron, and then live with her wives and children in Huskspan. Okay, let's go with Valtel Gertie. T. I like tea. Ooh, spoopy. The mist swirls around you. I'm gonna say as if I'm telling a spooky story. No, I'm not. It's thick, sticky, and it coils between the trees like the tendrils of something that slithered right out of the black depths. A film of moisture clings to your face, slick and heavy with the smell of mildew. Regardless of how often you tried to wipe it off with your sleeve, it coated your skin again, so eventually you gave up. Your hands are occupied either way. Where's Necron? In one you hold a heavy-duty torch, whose otherwise blinding light does little to fend off the mist or the heavy darkness permeating the grove of essence. Mostly you keep it pointed at the ground in front of you, all too wary of the twisted roots that protrude out of it at uneven intervals. Whenever you cast the light around you, it illuminates rows upon rows of trees, bent and gangly. At first your gaze would linger and you would try to make sense of shapes. But then the light would catch on reflective patches on the stems and you would not be able to shake the feeling that the trees were staring back. You decide to keep looking ahead. Your free hand comes to grip Proserpina's handle. Hey! It's a boy! Neither you nor Necron have uttered a word since. It's like in those cop shows. You get like the... God, why do my headphone things keep falling out? It's like in a cop show. I watch Vera sometimes. I've got like a whole fucking box set. I am not immune to propaganda. I don't believe cops are humans. Anyway, you get like the hard-boiled detective and then like the younger, inexperienced sidekick, and that's what Necron is to us right now. You've been picking your way through the grove for a bit over an hour now, you in the front and him in the rear, sweeping his own flashlight across the ground. His steps are quiet, the occasional muffled groan whenever he puts too much strain on his still recovering injuries notwithstanding. Your own muscles still throb with the dull pain, reminding you that it's only been a handful of days since your little run-in with the cultists. You made it out largely unharmed, however, and you elect not to dwell on your injuries overmuch. Your focus is needed elsewhere. You are, by all accounts, pressed for time, and you'd rather not waste any time by getting tangled up in trees. A thin claw of a branch juts out of one of them at your ankle level. You have walked into it before you could see it, and it snaps with a pop as loud as a gunshot. Your ankle smarts. You can't shake the feeling that it was reaching for your leg. That's absurd, obviously. All the stories about this place are just that, stories. Though it's weaving your way through the warped trees, it's easy to start seeing grimaces of pain and stifled screams etched in the bark. I'm holding, like, the last quarter of, like, one of those Rustler Burger breakfast sandwiches, and while I think I ought to eat it before it goes cold, I also don't want to loudly chew on camera because this is not a mukbang ASMR. As the tales go, all of these trees used to be trolls once, alchemists of a bygone era who wandered all the way out here to tap into the essence of life. It went wrong, horribly so. Ooh, spoopy. Each alchemist who attempted the process underwent an entirely different transformation. God, I feel like so in the spoopy mood that I almost want to try to not I almost want to try to go down like the wrong way, you know, just to see the unique dialogue, but you know, knowing my luck, I mean, because I don't have very good luck at anything, like, I shiny hunt a bit and I've only managed to get like 4 shinies, but like 5% is bigger than 0.000 whatever percent it is for Pokemon, even with like the shiny charm and Masuda method. Flesh hardened into wood, skin gave way to bark, limbs contorted and elongated into sharp, reaching branches. The story is never mentioned if they remained conscious. Not that you're overly concerned with the fate of fictitious trolls, you tell yourself. Yet you can't help but imagine them coming here one by one, hoping that they will be the one to succeed, all of them failing as the forest slowly expands. You catch movement out of the corner of your eye. I feel like this is going to be kind of a jump scare, but what's it called? Badger said that any choices I make outside of the maze will not do the 5% of jump scare. I almost expected like a jump scare. Your head snaps in the direction of the movement and you shine your light between the branches. For a moment the torch flickers. Ooh. The light comes back on, and then you're staring at a flat, white, pale face, gaping, glaring at you, mouth twisted in a hungry snarl. Your gaze focuses. The uneven back becomes something decidedly tree-like again. You keep moving as fast as you can without risking your neck breaking, or perhaps a little faster. You cannot afford the luxury of staying perfectly safe, now even less than usual. You're in a bit of a hurry. You were contacted by one Indari Veneer, and as soon as you picked up, you knew it wasn't simply a courtesy call. Good evening, Cecily. I trust that now is an appropriate time to talk. Hello, Indari. Yes, it is. What's going on? There's a situation that I'd like your assistance with, one that might be of interest to you as well. Based on your limited acquaintance with Indari, there was only one thing he knew would be of interest to you. You stood up straighter, zeroing in on the sound of your earpiece. Go on. It concerns a long-time associate of mine, Valtel Gertie, the sculptor. You make a non-committal noise. You've heard of him before. I know him from before. His voice takes on a hesitant note. It's not hard to realise what he's talking about. His time as part of the Mora. Right. He hasn't been involved with them either. It's simply where I met him and Jinju, his mate Sprite. Gingu? I don't know. I probably said like 10 racist slurs just by pronouncing it like that. I'm so sorry. I understand. So what has been up with this Valtel? Well, what is up with him is that, simply put, he's gone missing. Jingu is in quite the tizzy over it, as I'm sure you can imagine. We've been trying to get in touch for a while now, completely in vain. So we figured the expertise of a regulator might be what it needs to shed some light on this matter. You want me to look for him? Also, today's sponsored drink is J2O Spritz, apple and watermelon flavour. I'm sure I've drank this before on my channel, but I'll be very grateful if you would visit his estate. Perhaps there are clues to be found there. And do you have reason to believe that's related to my current case? Well, you seem to show great interest in my background. God, I'm nudging things with my elbow and making them fall over. So I hazarded a guess you might want to check this out for yourself. I see. You only considered for a few seconds, then nodded as if Indari would be able to see it. Very well. Forward me the address. I will look into it. Thank you so much, Cecily. That means a lot to me and Jingu. I trust that you'll update us on what you find. I will. I'll be in touch, Indari. Take care. You hung up. With this call, your next course of action was laid out for you. The timing of Indari's request would be far too convenient if you weren't convinced this was all in line with Noxious's schemes. You have not forgotten his threat from your last conversation, and it seems you know to whom it applies now, Valtel Gertie. You do know the name, though your paths are altogether too different to have crossed before. Art has never been something you have had a particular interest in. And Valtel's clearly very withdrawn lifestyle means you've hardly had any other points of connection. Not until Noxious singled you both out anyway. You only hope you're not too late. Cecily! Necron snaps you out of your thoughts and you look at him over your shoulder. He's pointing at something to your left. We're almost there. He's right. The light from your torches bounces off a wrought iron fence. Not a moment too soon. Necron scoffs under his breath. He has seemed on edge ever since you first heard Valtel's name, but you haven't inquired as to why just yet. There didn't seem to be enough time during your frantic scramble to reach Valtel before Noxious does. There doesn't ever seem to be enough time recently. You resume walking towards the fence, and now that you're almost there, you notice that the forest is thinning out a little bit, making walking easier. You keep yourself from rushing ahead. I feel like I should do the different decisions, but I didn't in the prologue. I didn't try out all those fucking sword moves, but you know, the terrain is still treacherous, even if there are fewer trees, and you maintain your focus as you weave your way towards the fence. At some point you notice a steep decline concealed beneath roots and foliage. Only your meticulous scanning prevents you from tumbling into a nasty fall. You cautiously skirt it instead. At length you make it to the fence. The iron bars stretch up for a good 20 feet and end with twisted, sharp spikes. Necron reaches over to touch one of the bars. His fingers come off covered in fine red dust. He makes a face and wipes his hand on his pants. All you can see beyond the fence is a thick hedge. There is no building you can make out, and as far as you can hear, the silence is complete. Let's look for the gate. You start walking along the fence, though you somehow doubt you're going to find the gate open. You wonder what's going to greet you beyond it. You decide to probe your companion's thoughts. Necron. Sup, Cecily. You've seemed ill at ease about visiting Valtel. Why? God, my dogs are being noisy. He takes a couple of quicker strides to catch up with you, and you give him a sidelong look. His expression is pensive. Full disclosure, I ain't ever met the dude. Heard of him, though. He's, well, nothing wrong with valuing your privacy and all that, but Valtel's something of a recluse. Oh, God. Shh. I mean, I should expect it in, like, a house with dogs, but, you know. I wish I had, like, some soundproof board. There's a lot of rumours about the goings-on in this mansion of his. You ever seen his work before? Can't say that I have. Reckon you could call it an acquired taste, but I'm gonna level with you. Shit's fucking weird is what it is. It's the sort of thing you don't want to turn your back to. They're just sculptures, Necron. I know they are, but they're like uncomfortably realistic. There's that one troll that disappeared too. What troll? He had an appointment to model for Valtel for one of his works, never came back. That's a little concerning, to be sure. Perhaps they got lost in the forest. Necron hums under his breath, but he seems sceptical. It's possible. Can't hurt to stay alert is all. You nod. We're going to. You've made your way around the fence by now and you come to the gates. They're made of the same black iron as the rest of the fence, and the horizontal bars at the top curve in elaborate, vicious shapes. Two stone columns flank them. Atop each of them are perched identical stone figures. I can't stop not speaking. You cannot make out their heads, but the tense poses give off the impression that they're ready to lunge down at you. Predictably, the gates are closed. A thick iron chain is wrapped around them where they meet in the middle, secured by a sturdy padlock you can see hanging on the inside. Well. Worry not, Regulator, I got just the thing. He raises his prosthetic hand. With a series of clicks, the appendage reconfigures into a circular saw. You have got to... The rest of your words are drowned out by the whir of the saw. You sigh, pointing the light at the chain to assist. Thankfully, the saw cuts through before the screech of metal against metal gives you a headache. Once he's done, Necron gives the chain a sharp tug and frees it, then discards it to the side. Together you begin to push the gates open. A second stretches in which nothing happens. You dig your feet in the dirt for support, pressing forwards with your entire weight. A grunt escapes your lips at the gate, as the gate still refuses to budge. Then it gives way. The hinges scream, a piercing sound just at the edge of your perception that bores straight into your cerebral matter and makes your teeth hurt. You resist the urge to clamp your hands over your ears and keep pushing instead. Between your efforts and Necron's, there's soon an opening you can enter through. You let go of the gate and walk in. You step onto the grounds of Valtel's mansion, and for a moment the complete quiet of the night is the most pleasant thing you've ever heard. Then you realise you're standing at the entrance of a giant hedge maze. The walls loom above you, thick and all but solid. Once each branch would have been trimmed to be perfectly even. Every angle would have been measured to ensure symmetry. Ah, this is the maze in which I go left, forward, left and right. Or is it left, forward and right? No, it's left, forward, left, right. Not anymore, however. Leaves stick out every which way, like the bushes are trying to claim back what had been taken. tiny hooks all too eager to embed themselves in your clothing or skin. Ugh! Square tiles line the path into the maze, but they're cracked and uneven. Weeds push through the holes between them. And of course, the statues. When your eyes land on the one closest to you, your breath catches somewhere inside your respiratory tube. The marble body is contorted in an unnatural way, as if squeezed by a gigantic hand, or its expression is one of anguish or fury. Its eyes bore straight into yours. You find yourself unable to look back as you take another step forward. On the edge of your peripheral vision you see Necron following. If this ain't... A loud piercing screech cuts him off, making you recoil. Slowly, painfully, the gates swing shut again. You hold your breath, digging your nails into your palms. The sound is almost tangible, like someone scraping a dull blade across your bones. For a moment there's nothing you want more than to be away from here. Then the sound stops and you can breathe again. You give the gates a wary look, then shake your head. They look perfectly innocuous, stationary once more. I need a drink. My hand is greasy. Delicious drink. I'm going to be so safe. Ugh, God, Necron scared me for a second. Hell of a cheerful place, ain't it? Idyllic. I see what you mean about the sculptures. Yeah, not a fan of how it seems to be watching me. He clears his throat. Apparently there's a choice you can make in this route relating to Necron. I don't want him to die. Anywho, we press in on Regulator. Like, he's probably meant to have some kind of, like, American accent, but I can't do American accents. I can do Yorkshire accents, and also the accent which I'm using now, which is no accent. You nod. We need to find Valtel. You brace yourself and enter the maze. Spook. The path is too narrow for you and Necron to walk side by side, so he falls back, assuming Aurelia formation. Hope you're good with mazes. Never had the patience for them myself. Normally you'd say you are. Mazes are a system with a start and a finish, and working from one end to the other is a kind of a problem solving that appeals to you. You know there is a solution, it's only a matter of finding it and not being jump scared. Now though, you can't stifle the tiny voice at the back of your mind that insists that this maze does not have one. You've been feeling this way a lot recently. You swallow back your doubts. You have to keep moving. An odd rattling sound carries through the thick air and your muscles clench. You pause with a foot half planted on the ground, straining your hearing to catch more, but there's only silence. All good, Regulator? Yes, I thought never mind. You're spared from explaining what you heard when the path you're walking down connects with another. So it's left. Oh, jeez. You reach an intersection. You can keep going forward or turn left. Let's go left. You turn left. The rattling sound hits you again, louder this time. It comes from the direction you came from. Hurry! Did you hear that? Yes, came from behind us. You give a sharp nod without looking at him. Stay alert. Ugh, I'm already spooked, and I'm not even doing the wrong thing. You reach an intersection, you can keep going forward, turn left or turn right. Let's go forward. You keep walking forward. I know I'm being a fucking pansy and a fucking wuss, but I'm already scared, even though I'm doing all the right things. And, like, I don't want to scream and, like, draw the concern of, like, no mum. I know my mother might ask me if I'm okay, but that's it. And plus I'll have to pause the recording and explain, you know, oh no, it's just a game, and then I'll have to render everything together in Vegas, and that takes, like, 3 hours to do. Each of your footfalls is as sharp as a gunshot against the tiles. Your blood pusher hammers against the cage of your ribs. Your breathing is a staccato of rasping pants. You're much too loud. The rattling comes again, this time from the left. Closer still. You pick up your pace. The mist is congealed into a thick mass that actively resists the light of your torch. Your visibility becomes more and more obscured, which does little to soothe the pangs of apprehension in your stomach. As you turn around a corner, a statue lurches at you. Its arms are outstretched in an aborted attack, each of its digits ending in sharp, curved claws. It's certainly a troll, but their features are twisted in an agonised, furious snarl. For a few moments you're unable to break their stony gaze. Their eyes are narrowed to slits, leering at you with a mixture of hatred and a silent plea. Necron tears you from your transfixion with a hand on your shoulder. You let out a huff and keep walking. You reach an intersection, you can keep going forward, turn left or turn right. It's left and then right, isn't it? You turn left. You're deep in the maze now, unsure of your position relative to where you started. You hope you're moving in the right direction. You hope that whatever is making the rattling noise does not come any closer. Jeez. Fuck. That spooked me. You reach an intersection, you can turn left or turn right. Let's go right. You turn right. Your pace has become frantic, not quite running, but it's a close thing, and your frenetic breathing sounds thunderous to your ears. Proserpina is in your hand, although you don't remember drawing her from her sheath. It takes you a moment to realise that you can't hear the rattling. Somehow that does little to comfort you. Reach an intersection, you can give a photo. What? I don't know which way to go. Help. Shit, I can't remember which way to go. I'm just trying to open my phone. I'm sure Badger said, like, the maze was over after the right turn. One moment. Left, forward, left, right. Left, forward, left. Left again. I'm scared. Badger didn't tell me about this one. I'm gonna take off my headphones. You turn right. Oh shit! You reach an intersection. March down the first path you see. Shit! You don't have it in you to be surprised when you realise it's a dead end. You come face to face with Mashiri and freeze in your tracks. Oh shit, this is going to be a jump scare or something. What is she? She can't be here, can she? Then you realise there's something off, hollow about the gaze she levels at you. Oh, I'm glad I took my headphones off. Are you lost again, Cecily? You're on the wrong path. But you know that, don't you? You've been sprinting towards a dead end for sweeps. Sweeping people along as you go. I was supposed to help you. But you've never let me do that, not really. Tell me, Cecily. Are you happy about the position you put me in? Oh, don't fucking do this, man. Even if you wanted to give her an answer, you doubt you'll be able to. The apparition that claims Mashiri's face tilts its head, observing you with something you might consider to be curiosity. Then it gives you a honey-sweet smile. Leave. I never want to see you again. You want to hide from this smile, from the words you both expected and feared for sweeps. Oh, you cannot look away. Another dead end. Let's backtrack, Regulator. He grips your shoulders and gives you a light but firm tug backwards. As soon as he breaks your focus on it, the thing that wasn't Mashiri disappears. You shake your head and pull your shoulders from his grasp. I can walk. Woof! You turn your back on the dead end, facing Necron head on. He watches you for a moment, then nods. We gotta be getting close to the exit now. We'll be out of here in no time flat. He seems to be waiting for a response from you, but when you don't give him one, he shrugs and starts walking back down the way you came from. You follow. Let's go forward. Necron is scaring me. Yo, Cecily, what did you see? Let's tell him. You can't do that. It doesn't matter, Necron. It was nothing. Thankfully, he doesn't press it. He must have been just off of the exit of the maze because there's only a couple more moments of walking before it abruptly ends. Valtel's mansion stands in front of you, a 3-story building floating amidst the fog. Elaborate ornaments decorate the facade, but they're weather-worn and chipped. The stone itself is darkened and dull with moisture and moss. Almost all of the windows are barred from the inside, and no light shines through the cracks. You exchange a look with Necron. Let's see if anyone's home. The two of you inch your way to the front of the hive, then ascend the stone steps leading up to the door. An iron knocker in the shape of a hooded serpent is positioned at your eye level, staring at you indifferently. As you stare back at it, you see that same rattling that followed you through the maze, but now it's distant, fainter. Then you hear a sound filtering through the door from inside the hive, a sharp, measured knocking. You can't make out what it is. While you're trying to determine the source of it, Necron switches his prosthetic to a set of lockpicks and sets out to bust the door. You strain your hearing to catch any changes inside, but there's only the same rhythmic sound. Knock, 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 knock. There. Fingers crossed the door ain't bad too. He straightens back up, pleased with his handiwork. Then the two of you lay your hands on the door and give it an experimental shove. It's heavy but I can't speak. But to your surprise, it gives slightly. You push harder. The door begins to slide open gradually, laboriously. And all at once the resistance disappears and you tumble inside amidst a loud clatter. Son of it! You grip the back of Necron's shirt before he crashes into the ground head first, steadying yourself on the door and trying to get your bearings. A pile of assorted furniture lies scattered on the floor in front of you. A table, a number of upturned chairs, what looks like an elaborate coat hanger. Seems like it was barred up after all. As you're saying it, unease creeps up your back. The knocking has stopped. Your hand flies to Proserpina's handle and you open your mouth to warn Necron, and then it starts up again. Knock, 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 knock. You hesitate, but when it doesn't seem to waver, you venture inside. You keep your blade at the ready. The hive is quiet, dusty and deserted. You head down a long hallway that opens into a spacious living room. At least that's what you assume it is. All of the furniture is hidden beneath white sheets. Across the room there are stairs leading up. That's where the noise seems to be coming from, so you exchange a look with Necron and nod. You make your way through the building, quiet and careful. You doubt that your presence can possibly have remained unnoticed, but something about making noise in this place unnerves you. Silence reigns absolute in the mansion, beside the ever-present knocking. It grows louder as you walk into the second floor and down a dusky hallway. All of the doors around you are shut, with no lights coming through the cracks around them. All except for one. The door at the end of the hallway is framed by a faint aura of light. Necron whispers under his breath, "That was where the noise is coming from?" You nod, keeping your eyes locked on it. Once you have closed the remaining distance, you pause for a moment to collect your thoughts. Knock, knock. You really don't want to open this door. But you also don't want to stay here any longer than necessary. You turn the knob. The door slowly swings open. You step inside. Oh, I still feel spooked, even though I got through the maze without dying. For a moment, the light filling the room overwhelms you. You resist the urge to shield your eyes from it, adjusted to the ever-present darkness as they are. You blink rapidly and a circular room comes into focus in front of you. Statues line the walls, taking up the alcoves between the windows, and your sweeping glance across the room is enough to tell you that they're as grotesque and painful as the rest of the art you've seen here. There's something in the centre of the room, another sculpture, but you don't have time to inspect it. A figure stands in front of it, and you finally see Valtel Gertie for the first time. You're not sure what you expected, but the thin, frail-looking individual in front of you wasn't it. He's got his back turned towards you and he doesn't seem to notice your presence. His entire body is still but limp somehow, as if it's only a matter of time before gravity pulls him to the floor. The knocking has stopped. The chisel and hammer in his hands tell you what the source of the sound had been. Oh. Valtel Gertie? Your voice echoes across the room, crashing back into you much louder than you could have anticipated. He doesn't turn around. I've been feeling uninspired lately. His voice is amplified by the echo too, but it's even, emotionless. Beside you, Necron shuffles with unease. His eyes are locked on Valtel. He's waiting, but you know if the situation takes a turn for the worse, he'll be ready to act. You take another step towards Valtel. Mr. Gertie, we're here to ask you some questions pertaining to a case where... What do you do when your work loses its meaning? Do you keep going through the motions because that's who you're supposed to be? Or do you accept that you're nothing without it? None of it matters. His words put you on edge as much as the deadpan delivery does. You can't help but wonder if he's aware that he's speaking to you. As if on cue, he turns to face you. His gaze slides over you and Necron and falls to the floor. His placid, vacant expression does not change at the sight of two strangers in his home, and he speaks again in the same unaffected tone. I haven't had visitors for a while. A shadow crosses his face with his next words. None that I could see, anyway. What does that mean, Valtel? Predictably, he ignores your imploring tone. His eyes lock on yours for a moment and then dart away again. How did you get past them? Past whom? The maze and the things in it. I fucking guessed. We just found our way out of it. No. He glances at you again, and for a moment you wonder whether he's talking about the same things you encountered. The things in the maze, do you know what they are? His gaze falls back to the floor, but for a moment you see a flicker of something new in his eyes. Fear. He wraps his arms around himself. You shouldn't have come here. Valtel, we came here to help. We were informed that you may be in danger. He takes a step back, bristling as if you move to attack him. Of course I am. We all are. You stay silent, trying to collect your thoughts. You're unsure how to proceed. It's clear that the troll in front of you is not entirely lucid, and you're scrambling for a way to get through to him. While you're contemplating, Necron gestures to attract your attention. Regulator. He points across the room. Is that statue bleeding? It certainly seems to be. You and Necron exchange confused looks. Should you mention this to Valtel? You turn back towards him. He hasn't budged from his defensive pose. You decide to try asking him some questions. Is that statue bleeding? Valtel lets out something that's almost a scoff. Of course it's not bleeding. Stone doesn't bleed. He seems more agitated, tension building in his shoulders. What are you working on? Oh? He lights up almost imperceptibly, then he moves aside to give you a clear view of the sculpture. I call this one Portrait of the Artist. Your breath catches. Before you stands a stone amalgamation of hands and faces and limbs, gripping, tangled together, bare bones sticking out of places they don't belong, mouths warped in expressions of agony and anger. It's incomplete, though the chunks of formless stone seem to belong in this composition as much as its other elements. You will yourself not to shudder at the sight. I've been working on this piece for so long, but it never seems to be quite done. There's always something missing. It's real gnarly, I'll give you that. Valtel looks at his face for the first time since you entered the room. He must be trying to determine whether the remark was meant as a compliment or an insult. Whatever conclusion he comes to, it doesn't seem to satisfy him. He's gripping his sides, eyes narrowed at the floor. Mate Sprite. Valtel's face darkens. It feels like a very long time. It must have been a few Weisses. It's been hard to keep track of it. His fingers tighten around his arm, as if he clutches hard enough he can ground himself in the moment. That's when it clicks for you. His exhaustion, the way he seems just moving things so I don't knock it with my elbows. The way he seems dazed and unsteady on his feet and keeps fading in and out of awareness. He must be experiencing withdrawal. Just making sure everything's still. Yep. You feel a pang of sympathy, familiar as you are with the constant discomfort. It doesn't take long for it to kick in either. If his estimation is correct, the symptoms are rather severe by this point. For a moment, Valtel's expression softens. He murmurs, barely above a whisper, I miss him. Just as quickly, the emotion fades from his face. You swallow yourself around the lump in your throat and bring yourself to speak. Valtel, your partner's been trying to reach you. He's been worried since you cut contact. Cut contact? You have to fight the urge to recoil instinctively. Instinctively you reach for your weapon. Valtel just keeps talking, the momentary fury seeping from his features. I have been trying to contact him this entire time. Texting, calling, he never responded. He left me all alone here and I'm trapped. Trapped? I can't leave. I know what's waiting out there. We can help you get out of here. I'm sure Jingu will be... It's not safe. Not just for me, for anyone. Terrible things are coming. He moves another step away from you. Why have you barricaded yourself here? Barricaded? I would be dead otherwise. There are monsters on the other side unlike anything either of us has seen, and they're trying to get through. They're watching me, biding their time until I give up. I cannot ever let my guard down. Buddy, no one's... He cuts himself off, and you know he's thinking about Noxious. How much of what's been happening here has been because of him? It looks like Valtel doesn't enjoy this line of questioning, however. His eyes keep flicking to you in something teetering on open panic. All of your questions seem to run into a stone wall. It's hard to reach Valtel, and even the fragmented responses he does give you are confusing and difficult to follow. He's clearly in no fit state to be questioned. If anything, your interrogation only made it worse. He stepped even farther away from you now, opening a wide rift of bare stone between you. His eyes keep darting around to you, then Necron, then the door, like he's looking for a way out. You decide to try one more time. Valtel, have you heard the moniker Noxious? His anxious fidgeting stops, but he doesn't respond. You don't give up. What about a noxious antidote? Have you talked to him? How does he contact you? No. His eyes have become unfocused. They're looking in your direction, but they're empty, seeing something far beyond you. I don't want your questions. They're not going to be of any use to you. They will not help you with what's to come. The war that's coming isn't going to be one that you'll fight. Leave. He turns away from you, signalling that he wants this conversation to end, but you can't go just yet. You need this victory. You take a step closer to Valtel. You get no response. Please tell me what you know. Valtel is quiet, his shoulders are shaking. Cecily! No! He whips around like a taut string being released, and his eyes are glowing a burning white, and you don't even have time to ask what's happening before your entire body goes very, very cold. You can't move. Red bleeds into your vision, swirling around you until you feel like you're looking at the room around you through thick, viscous liquid. Then there is no room. You're all by yourself again. Have you ever not been? The cold is an overpowering numbness that starts where your blood pressure should be and weighs your entire body down, down. Part of you knows you should fight it. You should resist. You have a reason to. You don't know. You can't remember. It's getting hard to think, and you're so cold. You're too late for that. You couldn't do anything to save her. You didn't even learn the truth for sweeps. You failed her. As you will fail everyone else. With that thought searing your mind, your vision finally goes dark. And then he used his ability and his eyes got all wacky and he paralysed you. You're leaning back against the table looking at Necron as he recounts the events of the previous night to you. Your neck is still uncomfortably stiff. Natch, I jumped at him and hit him square on the head, and he ain't all that hardy, so he was out for the count pretty much straight away. And then you passed out on the floor, had to carry you both through that maze. He laughs sort of sheepishly, and you have a hunch about what he's going to say next. Lucky I have a chainsaw, made the whole business easier. You don't have it in you to mourn Valtel's maze, and frankly you doubt he does either. As long as it got the job done. Sure did. Anyhow, I rang Orica up and she gave us a ride. Took Valtel to another pal to help him recover. He's going to be back with Jingu in no time flat. Necron's grin splits his face in two almost even parts. It's not hard to tell he's elated. We won this round, Regulator. I wish you could feel anywhere as confident or excited about it as Necron does. As it is, only thinking about the events of the past night make you nauseated. Thankfully, you're prevented from having to ruin his enthusiasm when the door opens and Sestro steps inside. Necron gives him a curious look. Howdy, Chief. Sestro pauses, giving Necron a look with raised eyebrows, then directing it at you instead. You shrug a single shoulder. Sestro considers you, then lets out an almost imperceptible sigh. He nods at Necron. Hello. I'm glad you've come back to yourself, Cecily. How are you recovering? I'm fine. You realise that must sound terribly unconvincing, so you add, tired, it's been a long night. Sestro nods, although you're not sure how he buys it. Still, he doesn't press further. You didn't think he would. The executive would like to talk to you when you're able. Right away then, you think. Somehow you weren't expecting to be able to rest soon. Alright, thank you for letting me know. Something hopeful in his expression as he takes his leave. Later you feel like the past 12 hours have taken from you everything that they could, but you still have a call to make. Mashiri picks up just when you start to think she's not going to. Cecily! It's good to hear you. Are you alright? Yeah, a lot's happened. Can you talk? I can. Give me a moment. There's a brief rustling sound and you hear her talk to someone on her end. I'm sorry, darling. I need to take this. Cool, take your time, I guess. Another rustle, a moment of silence, and then you hear Mashiri addressing you again. Alright. Tell me what's been going on. Well, that was pretty cool. It was spooky. Oh, I liked that. I really did. If I wasn't so spooked by that last thing, I would have been like, I'm fine. So that was the spooky route. And now we're going to do the last route so far. Volume 9 will be coming out, like, whenever. So when that comes out, I'll play it.